Hello, everyone, and welcome back to This Month in Guns. Just kidding. It's This Week in Guns, where we bring you all of the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm Matt Larosiere, and this is Shawn Herrin, and we are proudly brought to you by Primary Arms and the Patriot Patch Company.
Yeah.
Shawn, explain your absence.
Explain my absence. Well, I was about to leave on the start of the WLS tour in the WLS RV, and I was waiting for the RV repairman who was 6 hours late, and then we had an hour and a half appointment that lasted 4 hours, so that was a big part of my day last week.
Yeah.
And I totally what's the word? Screwed over Matt? Is that the?
No, it's not a big deal. I just I didn't care because the moment you said you needed RV work done, I was like, I know how that goes.
Dude, it was terrible. Generally, it goes better than that. And then, did you know that we set out for the maiden voyage of the RV to go to Wichita, and we were 1 hour and 30 minutes into it, and it broke down?
Really?
Yeah. And so I had to have it towed back. We had to find a ride back home, and there was 3 dudes and a puppy. And it was.
Oh my God.
It was a big adventure.
Dude, that's dreadful. I didn't know about that part.
Yeah. So it's back.
I figured after you see the RV man, you're good to go.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is there's 2 different kinds of RV. Well, there's several different kinds of RV men. You have the one that shows up and works on the systems, like the plumbing and the refrigerator and the lights and the air conditioning. Like that's a guy. And then you've got the chassis people, which work on like the dash AC and the engine and the transmission and the hydraulic lines and they don't speak. They hate each other. They're like Klingons and Romulans, and they don't want anything to do with each other. But now, so that guy came and visited, and he fixed the refrigerator. But now I have it at the repair shop looking at. It's something electrical, I think, but transmission. I don't know.
Yeah. So what happened? Did it just up and quit on the road? Did it start sputtering? Like what were the symptoms?
So we were driving along 65 and it jerked really hard. And then I got a check trans light. Mm-hmm. And then I looked over at the transmission display, which shows you either reverse, neutral, or drive. And it was a star and it would blink and then it would downshift again. So I limped it along just like to the next town at least, which was Lyman, Colorado. And it was pretty stressful, but it didn't actually just break and stop, but it definitely wasn't something we could continue for another, 6.5 hours to Wichita. So
right.
I had to deal with roadside assistance, which on an RV is super annoying.
Yeah.
And then we had to find a ride home because roadside assistance doesn't cover that. And there was no car rental places anywhere nearby. And it was an adventure.
That's terrible.
It was super annoying, actually. It was less than ideal and more than irritating.
Well, I'm glad you wound up okay.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I didn't die.
Well, let's talk about Primary Arms. I don't even have much witty to say because I just know how terrible that is. Wow. Anniversary sale.
Go back.
It's 35 amazing years business.
35 or 13?
13.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I know nothing about Primary Arms.
Yeah, well, there's some more to learn. But wow, that's a pretty good deal. You get 60 bonus bucks on a Geisley Super Semi-Automatic, the 2-stage one. This is my favorite one at $240. So winds up being like $190 for one of the best 2-stage triggers you can get.
That's a good deal.
That's a decent deal, I'd say.
Yeah, what's 60 bonus bucks?
Doesn't it I remember looking into it because I got bonus bucks when I bought something off of Primary Arms before. I think you just use it on your next order.
Dude, what?
I think so. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is.
That's amazing. I would like some bonus bucks.
Yeah. Well, we can get you one if you buy that trigger.
Okay, fair enough. I don't really need any triggers right now. I'm flush with triggers.
I don't know about that.
I'm flush with triggers.
I don't know about that.
Got a trigger here, trigger there, one over here. Yeah.
Guys, we heard your complaints. We got you a coupon code for Primary Arms.
Yeah.
We did. If you buy any optic there.
Any Primary Arms optic.
Yeah, any Primary Arms optic, thank you. You get a free mount. And that's, a lot of times when you're looking at an optic, that's a really annoying thing because, you know, you like set your budget, whatever, get the optic, and then you forget that you've got to get the mount too. But code FRN, that's Foxtrot Romeo November, you will get a free mount with any Primary Arms optic. And you can check that out on frn.deals/PA.
Well done. I just put in an order and I got 2 different mounts. So
really?
Yeah.
The last thing I ordered from them was, I think they were one of the only people that had 45 AARP ammo.
Nice. Yes. One of the mounts was $85 and the other one was $70. So that's pretty dang good deal. So yeah, FRN.
Is.
Sorry to restate what you already stated. I just got excited. It's
okay. I'll let it slide this time.
Thank you. I appreciate your magnanimousness.
That's right. That's what they call me. That's what I'm known for. Magnanimous.
Magnanimous. It has nothing to do with kindness. It's really just because you ate a lot of bananas and had a lisp.
You're not supposed to give the real version of the story away, but
my bad.
Again, because I'm so magnanimous, I will let it slide.
Oh boy. Speaking of lisps.
Yeah. Wait, okay. I don't know how that segue works.
Smith and Wesson.
Smith and Wesson. Yes. Let's get to the news. We got a press release here, and this really might not surprise anyone. Smith and Wesson is going to be relocating their headquarters to Tennessee. And this is due to, you'll never believe this, right? Because right now they're in, it's Massachusetts, right? Yeah, Springfield, Massachusetts, old boom town of the gun industry. This might surprise you, but there's a changing business climate for firearms manufacturing in Massachusetts.
All right. You know, I don't see it in this article, but I actually did read something on this earlier. So in Massachusetts, there is an 8% corporate tax and a pretty high individual income tax. And because of Smith & Wesson's, like they cleared $1 billion in sales last year, that basically meant that they had to pay $80 million in that corporate tax. Yeah. Now, by moving to Tennessee, there's no individual income tax, which is good. And the corporate tax is only 6.5%. Right. So by moving, they're automatically just saving $15 million a year just on that corporate tax.
Yeah, assuming they get the same year over year. But so, you know, they said that this was an emotional decision. And after an exhaustive and thorough analysis, I think it's just ridiculous. It's like, guys, obviously Yankees don't want gun companies there.
Yeah, they make it pretty obvious.
Yeah, if you're into guns, come south. Yankees hate you, right?
Yeah.
Just deal with it. But regardless, they put out a list of factors and that they vetted a number of cities and states and made the decision to relocate their 750 jobs and headquarters to Maryville, Tennessee. The key factors were support for the Second Amendment, a business-friendly environment, quality of life for employees. Again, that's no wonder. Cost of living, affordability, access to higher education institutions, availability of qualified labor for its operations and headquarter functions, and favorable location for the efficiency of distribution, which again, makes sense. Who buys more guns?
Yeah. I am not surprised. I am surprised by this. Very surprised. Because Smith & Wesson does some things that I just don't agree with and don't care about and I think are stupid. But this one is kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, like clearly Tennessee is going to be better for a gun company than Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I have an M&P right here just out of solidarity with them.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the show. And I was thinking, do I own any Smith & Wessons? And I do.
You do?
I have a Smith & Wesson 99.
Oh, man.
Yeah, which is, that was when Walther was like going through some weird things. They didn't really have a U.S. Presence. So they just sent P99 stuff to Smith & Wesson and let them kind of ugly it up a little bit. So yeah, I have a Smith & Wesson 99 in 40.
Dang. That's like double terrible.
Yeah.
I shoot Smith & Wessons like a lot. That's what I shoot. My carry is a Glock, but yeah, I like Smith & Wesson.
I do also have a pre-victory Smith & Wesson Model 10.
I wonder if Did the nunnery allow them to make this change?
Oh, right. The what, Vanguard?
Yeah.
Let's say, do they mention that?
They don't.
Oh,
which I thought was kind of
so maybe this is under pressure.
Oops. Well,
God, I almost forgot about all that.
Yeah.
End yard stuff.
So I am wondering, because it's not mentioned at all in any of the press releases that I saw, but I think this is a good thing. I don't care for Smith & Wesson as a company, but I do love their guns.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I do, I like to think highly of rational decision making, and this seems rational. And so, making any rational decisions in the gun industry is impressive.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed.
I am too. Good on you guys. I kind of do have to feel a little bit bad for some of the employees that probably don't want to move and they're losing their jobs. That's a tough thing, but it does say upwards of 750 jobs will move from Springfield from Springfield, Connecticut and Missouri will move to Tennessee because they're closing 2 other places, I believe, as well.
Oh, this is interesting though. I'm looking at their stock chart, and their ticker name has changed a few times in the past year or two. But I kind of feel like this might, we might get a downtick of people saying, oh, they're moving from their original stuff like that. I mean, this is not financial advice, but financially, I think I might be advising myself to buy some of this.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cheap, honestly.
Yeah, because I think that I do, just my gut kind of tells me they're going to become more profitable just by moving, right? And there's going to be some pains, but I don't know. If you guys are thinking about putting gun stuff in your portfolio, might be a decent time.
Yeah, I totally agree, as I'm looking it up right now.
Well, next up, we got an article from our friend Dan Zimmerman over at T-Tag. This is really interesting, right? Because after Heller, there were still a lot of laws on the books in D.C. that just made it a general nightmare zone to own or look at or think about a gun. But now, in a case involving a series of arrests that were made between 2012 and 2014, a federal judge has ruled that the district is liable for those wrongful firearm arrests, which honestly is kind of exciting. Let's show them here. Here we got a picture of Dick Heller, and I don't know who that is.
Hi, Dick. I meant Richard Heller.
So this is Judge Lamberth. He ruled that laws banning carrying firearms publics and non-residents from registering firearms and permitting the arrests of non-residents for carrying weapons or ammunition without a license go to the core of the Second Amendment. And that the amendment preserves the right of responsible citizens to carry firearms for personal self-defense beyond the home, subject to longstanding restrictions. The district violated the plaintiff's Second Amendment rights by arresting them, detaining them, prosecuting them, and seizing their guns based on an unconstitutional set of D.C. laws.
So when we say liable, what does that actually mean?
So I'm guessing that there's some civil suits underneath this. And this was probably at a motion to dismiss or in some injunctive phase where the district is arguing that they cannot be held responsible for a wrongful arrest, a Fourth Amendment, wrongful arrest. And this is them saying, no, they can be held responsible.
Dang. So some people going to get paid?
Maybe, right? Because there's a few stages after this, but it's a good, it's not a bad sign, right?
Yeah.
This may have even, and I didn't look deeply into this, but so the things that could have brought this up is, a motion to dismiss, saying that they don't have likelihood of success on the merits, or even, it doesn't smack of qualified immunity, but that's something that, the district would be, is certainly likely to bring up.
Yeah.
Although I don't know who the parties are, right? Because that's just for the officers involved. So this being DC itself, that's less relevant. So it's
interesting.
I mean, litigation is a chess game.
Yeah.
So this is just one part of it, but the general theory here, as it seems to me, is the district made it impossible for you to comply with the law in a way that you could be able to usefully use a weapon at all, especially if you don't live there. And like most people who are in DC every day don't live there, right? And so because they set up that system, that mechanism, it's unconstitutional, and then arrests thereby, right, violate the law.
Okay. Very interesting. That
makes sense?
Yeah. I didn't even hear about this. Huh.
Well, now you know.
Yeah, now I know. I am stoked. This is cool.
It'll be $20.
Jeez. Freaking ambulance chasers.
Oh, well, so yeah, that's interesting. That's cool. I'm always glad to see wins, right, in gun rights cases, even and sometimes especially on a procedural ground, because that's how the federal courts have tied up gun cases for several decades now, is that they will look into the nittiest of the grittiest, right, of federal rules, or of just reasons to knock a case off.
Yeah.
For other reasons. The fact that they're able to go this far is a really good sign.
Very cool, man.
Next up, who is your favorite anti-gun celebroid?
Shannon Watts.
Really?
Yeah.
Reasonable.
Yeah. Makes sense, right?
I don't have one because I don't like them. But David has gone whole hog.
Shannon, send nudes.
Send two. He was on Bird App, and we've got this nice article from Armed American News with this title, David Hogg is an idiot. Really get straight to the point. He's just like, and I saw this last week as it was happening. He was just wilding on Twitter. He was just saying the dumbest crap. So somebody asked him, have you ever tried shooting an AR-15? Right?
Okay.
David? Yes, actually, I grew up shooting guns with my family and learned how to maintain and clean them since before I can remember. Okay. With my father teaching me after he had to shoot for quals, which is part of the reason I know no one needs a weapon like an AR-15 to defend themselves.
They don't?
It's fair.
Yeah.
It's fine. He can make that point.
He's wrong, but yeah.
But this is my favorite tweet. And let me just read this and let this sink into you guys. Oppose us for as long as you want. We're going to outlive you and replace every one of you in every state legislature, the halls of Congress, and every court. We're going to win. All because have the most important thing most of those that oppose us don't have. Time.
Dun, dun, dun.
So let's think about what point he's making here, right? Because I think this is interesting to dig into.
Mm-hmm.
What is David Hogg's sole occupational qualification?
That he got into Harvard because of notoriety.
Right, but what underlies his notoriety?
That he's got a dumb face.
And a bunch of his classmates were tragically killed.
That is, yeah. If he had to write it down on a resume, that would be his institutional expertise.
And so he's making the argument that he's going to outlive all of us.
Yes.
I think that's like, shockingly not self-aware.
No. And it's also dumb, as if like every single person from 2015 on that is born in the United States hates guns. Not true at all.
Yeah, no, the clear suggestion and the clear belief here is that everyone who is pro-gun is a boomer.
Yeah. And King Boomer 1 and 2 right here.
Yeah.
Boomer Fuds.
Yeah. You're a grand boomer. I'm a king boomer.
Shut up.
But like, this is so stupid because the issue has like, there's just nothing to back it up. It's just a like desire, right? He desires that everyone who like looks like him thinks the way he does.
Yeah.
But all of the data suggests the opposite, right? That Generation Z, which are like, you know, a critically developmentally flawed generation when it comes to communicating with other people, unrelatedly, are probably the most pro-gun generation ever, just by the sources we have.
Yeah.
I mean, they're overwhelmingly conservative, whatever the hell that means, more so than any generation for the past like 80 years. So what, Mr. Hogg, what did you mean by this?
Yeah, I often wonder what like anti-gunners are thinking when they say things. I'm like, did you say it out loud? Because sometimes that helps me not say something really tragically stupid. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that it's this like 5-minute news cycle that we have, like just reading the headlines. I said, I think earlier, I was like, yeah, I read the headline, but I didn't read the article. And that's what I think he's going for, is people that read that headline and then they don't actually apply any critical thinking to it. And it's the dumbest thing in the universe, like patently untrue. And if you think about it for more than 5 minutes, I think you'll see that. But he lives in this echo chamber of people that encourage his particular brand of stupidity. And then living in that chamber and hearing these things from these people all the time, I think he starts to believe it. And then he says things like this, but he probably really has passionate belief behind it because that's the world he lives in. And he doesn't talk to the normies that don't go to Harvard and that don't hate guns. But that's not the life. And I worry sometimes that I'm like going through the exact same thing because I live in another echo chamber, completely drastically different from his. Like mine's filled with reality and critical thinking and good people, and his probably isn't. But I just I don't believe this to be the truth. I believe it to be incredibly short-sighted and stupid.
I got a chocolate cup of peanut.
You thought I was going to keep talking for an hour?
No, I just wanted this. I really wanted it. No, you're completely right. And we do all have to guard against this. Mm-hmm. And that's why I will say that I love the Discord server for Funbusters, because you're in there. Yeah. There is an incredible diversity of thought in there, except on gun control, right? But but we have actual communists. We've got people from everywhere on the political spectrum that will argue viciously on everything, and yet we all can still get along. So I like that community because I don't feel like I'm getting the echo chamber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we do have to guard against that. And we do have to recognize and question our beliefs, not because they're wrong, because they're not. Everything you believe is right.
Yes. As long as you believe what we believe.
Yeah. Yes, dear listener, everything you believe is right. And you are the most handsome person watching this show. Yes, you. That's right. Turn it up a little more. Well done. But focusing on that is important. And so I can imagine how this type of thing develops, which is, I shot guns.
Right.
And Dad's a cop. And Dad said, you don't need that one.
Yeah.
And then everyone goes, yeah. And you're a gun. And so Dad, you're a gun owner. Yeah.
Yeah. The sheer power behind the AR-15. I'm like, of all the guns that I shoot, that's probably one of the least. I mean, yeah, it is. I shoot a lot of big calibers, like 223, 5.56. Not that flattering.
One thing I love is that I think that 5.45 is one of the most combat effective cartridges. It's less powerful than the 5.56.
Yeah.
It has like slightly less muzzle energy. And yet, that might be pedantic, right? Because if a weapon is incredibly effective, it can be categorized as powerful, but power is a term of art. Right.
Yeah.
Like if you put my Mauser right next to my AK-74, well, which one is more powerful?
Yeah. And what does power even mean? Like, yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Dave Hogg.
Yeah. Mr. Is it just an act at this point? Maybe it was. I know there's some people that believe the whole thing is an act, like Abenito. But at this point, it's like, there must be some kind of feedback loop that like we're enabling by looking at him whenever he does stuff like this.
Yeah. And I mean, like, this is all just preparing for him to go to become a politician someday. Like,
isn't that amazing that you can be denied from a higher institution, allegedly academy thing, and then you gain political notoriety. Mm-hmm. This presumably would not change your scores.
No.
But then you get in with a scholarship.
Yeah. And I would bet money. So I have 4 kids. They're all grown. I've been a teenager. Like, I hung out with my kids a lot growing up.
Me too once.
Their friends. Yeah. Their friends all were around a lot. So I've been exposed. Well, that sounds weird. I have been around teenagers growing up, and like, I don't want to say like my kids are all incredibly smart. I know everybody says that, but they're like really just really good people. And they don't even think, some of them don't even have the same politics that I do. And that's fine, because as long as they think critically about things and they can talk about why they feel a way, that's okay with me. But they've never been like this. And sure, they never had the experience in the closet that David Hogg had. What happened to the kids at his school?
I'm supposed to laugh at that.
Sorry. Sorry.
I mean, like, just the way you said it. I'm more apologizing to the audience.
It was a dig.
It was
a dig.
A long experience in the closet.
Yes. It was a dig, and that's unfair of me. But like,
yeah, whatever. What he said wasn't fair.
Yeah, like,
and two wrongs make a left.
Yeah, exactly. So it sucks that what happened to him, and maybe that radicalized him in this way, and it clearly seems to be the case. But like, he is abnormal in my opinion, of as a teenager and now as a young adult, and I don't know.
Well, he'll never recover from this.
No.
And in addition to the psychological trauma of, that horrible thing happening, right?
Yeah.
Like, in addition to that is going to scar everyone who was at that school for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
But what this child will never recover from is being thrust into the media at that time.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, go on.
I was going to say there's a reason like why child actors have like a very high rate of suicide and depression and drug use and things like that. Not all of them, but a very high percentage of them, I think, that find any measure of success. And I think that he will run into that too. And I think that that's incredibly unfair considering the trauma that he actually did, experience.
Well, it's just so boiling, right, to the brain. It's just like, imagine, right? I remember being like 14, 15, 16. I mean, hell, I remember even being 24 and just like my thoughts being these little idiot things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like just these little tiny idiot vibrations that happened. Now imagine if like you had to stunt your developmental growth because you were publicly wed to all of the ides you had at like 14, 15.
Yeah.
You would be broken as a human being forever.
I can't even imagine. I honestly feel bad for him. I think that he gets used, but then again, at some point, I think that he begins to believe it. And I think that he begins to believe that this is his greater purpose because he has had that experience and that someday he's going to wake up and realize that, wow, my whole life has been taking this thing away and I've been incredibly unsuccessful in it. And what do I have left? Because I wasn't able to experience life as a teenager, an adolescent, and then a young adult. I experienced this. And now I no longer believe that, or I no longer have any hope for it or whatever. And I'm left with nothing because I never got to be a human being.
Right. And also like extremely limited occupational, perspectives.
Yeah.
Because unless you are an activist, you're going to be like, hey, you're polarizing. Get out of my dealership.
Yeah. I mean, he will have a Harvard education to like fall back on. And, yeah.
Here's something I hope and pray for. I hope and pray that one day the entire U.S. economy will realize what an absolute insane scam the Ivy League is and start viewing Ivy League diplomas as they should, which should be a negative, a detractor. In my opinion, look, all that getting into an Ivy League school means to me is that you no-lifed it in high school or college, which is a time where like a normally functioning human being doesn't have the foresight to no-life it. It means there's something wrong with you. And then you went into an echo chamber with a bunch of other people who there's something wrong with them. And they sat there and told you how handsome and smart you are.
And how much better you are. Yeah, how much better you are than everyone else.
It's an insane scam. These people are stunted. They're not normal. I'm sorry for getting off on this. And if you're in the audience and you went to an Ivy League school, except you're not you.
You're the best.
I didn't mean you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Don't be sorry. You didn't mean them.
I didn't mean them, but except I did. And then they get to just sit on the fact that they went to this school when they were in their early 20s for the rest of their career. What the hell does that have to do with whether or not they can, if like whether they can fix a heart or understand a mathematical equation now, years later? It's an insane scam. It's a huge, preposterous problem that's somewhat unique to this country and causes like our highest entities to behave in extremely erratic and bizarre ways. Because if you want a piece of evidence, I present to you the whole hog. Damn. Regard it. Look at it.
The whole hog.
It is broken.
Yeah, he is. And I actually, a buddy of mine, his kids were at Parkland.
Okay.
And it's so weird that they're like functional human beings because they had a dad who was a gun guy and like didn't let them feel sorry for themselves and channeled this energy that Hog has into music. I think was what they actually focused on. That was their thing. And they've been incredibly like well adjusted, or at least as well adjusted as you could be. And I'm like really proud of Kevin for him and his family's trials and tribulations and the way that they came out of them better than they were before. Still damaged and broken, but better than they were.
Yeah, well, aren't we all, though?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good on you, Kevin.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now on to something really not happy, but different.
I'm ready.
This is really upsetting. So, Newsom survived his recall campaign. I don't know why. I'm not going to blame election fraud, right?
Didn't he get more votes than he won the actual office with?
I mean, look, if you say election fraud, it means you're wrong, right? So I'm not going to say election fraud. I'm just going to heavily imply it. But anyway, he immediately gets right back on that insane path that he's been on. Signs California AB 173. It amends the California penal code to include an authorization for California Department of Justice to release personally identifying information about California gun owners, who, again, many of which have all their information with the state. Let's just read the text, right? See, it's not an exaggeration. All information collected pursuant to this section shall be maintained by the department and shall be available to researchers affiliated with the California Firearm Violence Research Center at UC Davis for academic and policy research purposes upon proper request and following approval by the center's governor institutional review board when required.
Okay.
That's not even like the state is going to like make sure they're doing something right on. It's like,
yeah. The
school's going to say they want it, and then the school's going to say, yeah, no, we want it.
And then it's going to immediately be leaked.
And then it must be sent to them.
Yeah. But, and so what the net effect of this is should this research really have identifiable information? Like what in the hell is that? Second of all, like this information is going to be leaked by extremist, people
and then used by
other extremist people.
Well, no, I mean, but before even that, because let's be honest, right? The extreme progressives are too, their skulls are too soft, right? They're squishy gelatin lizard people. They're not, like the big lizards. They're not going to do something. Who is this information most useful for?
Gun grabbers?
The literal gun grabbers.
Yeah.
The kind that break into trucks looking for handguns.
Yeah.
Which is like, this is like the best way to transfer guns from regular law-abiding people into the hands of criminals.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that. You're 100% right. Like, holy crap.
It's like, why break into every truck? You just follow the list and break into those trucks.
And
I'm not saying you're supposed to use your truck as a gun safe, but
people do.
People do. It's not, I don't think it's bad. I wouldn't put anything I really cared about in there, but some people got all kinds of reasons. It certainly fast tracks crime gun searches. This is what they do. I had my car broken into, and it's really convenient that they picked mine, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? I had cash in there. They didn't even take the cash.
What?
Broke in there. I think it was because I had some empty shell casings. They broke in, the glove box was open, and everything under the seat was pulled forward. They took a couple snacks, which was upsetting to me.
Really annoying.
Yeah, but what does that tell you? They were looking for a gun.
Yeah, that's incredible. So yeah, I didn't even think about that. And this data is absolutely, without question, guaranteed to be leaked within like a week.
Yeah, because that's like what it's for.
Yeah.
Like that's what you do. That's like you don't give a university data because it's top secret and like you trust them.
Yeah. You
give it to them.
And so anybody like
you hate it.
Yeah. Anybody could take this data and they'll be able to release like race, what kind of guns you have, and they'll be able to use that, massage that. And honestly, like, yeah, it's pretty terrifying. God, I really feel bad. Like there's so many good gun people in California.
So the guy, the author here, Dennis Santiago, that's his picture there. He's got an interesting AR. He's suggesting, he's like, we should use this so pro-gun research can create data-driven policy changes that finally figure out how guns can be safer for individuals and help promote less crime-prone environments.
Yeah.
By using the very same research data that California says is not legally available to conduct research on both sides of the political coin. Right? Because that's a great idea. But what's the law says? Available to the California Firearm Violence Research Center at UC Davis.
Wow. And any research affiliated, which I'm sure is a pretty smallish list. Yeah,
right.
Under hundreds is my guess. Man, I don't know. It's pretty absolutely insane.
Bonkers.
Yeah, California, like, be ready to defend your stuff.
So, hey, good Californians that hate this, can you get some of the tickets to Florida and Texas that the bad Californians are taking, please?
Yeah.
Because they're coming. So can you just, like, you do it instead?
Yeah. I saw someone driving with a California license plate the other day. And
you shot at him?
No. No.
Oh, you poisoned him?
No. But I definitely really was annoyed that they were in Colorado.
Yeah. You got like really mad and said, geez, I really should start shooting at this car.
No. I was like, man, how dare you? Get out of our state. We don't want you here.
Yeah, get out of their state. We definitely don't shoot at those cars.
And it was a Prius, so I knew that it wasn't a gun guy.
I know a gun guy with a Prius.
I was going to say, don't you drive a Prius?
What?
I'm just kidding.
How dare you?
How dare you? That's like saying I wear Crocs.
I do not wear those either.
Me either.
No, I do not. And just so the audience knows, I will not drive anything with an automatic transmission. I just won't.
Wow.
I don't even know how.
I can drive stick. Like I grew up driving. Man, that also sounds terrible. Driving a manual transmission, and I can do it well. But I do like automatic because I'm lazy.
Weak.
That's the same reason I like machine guns. Lazy. I like my transmissions like I like my guns. Automatic.
Even my tractor is manual.
Dang. I mean, that makes sense. If I had a tractor.
It's hard to get a manual tractor now.
Really?
Yeah, it used to be the default, but now they're like all hydrostatic stuff.
Weak.
Yeah, right?
Weak.
But yeah, I won't drive an automatic. And the other day I had to. There was a rental car and my buddy had taken and he was like, oh, you drive. And I didn't realize how long it had been. And so it was very jerky. Right?
Yeah.
Because normally when I'm coasting to a stop, I just throw the stick into neutral and take my foot off the gas.
Right.
And with this, so I just rip my foot right off the gas and the car's like,
You're like, this is the worst.
Yeah. No, everyone was not enjoying it.
I can imagine.
Myself especially.
Yeah. You're like, I'm better than this, guys.
And it was a Volkswagen.
For the love of God.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Did your Crocs get stuck on the pedals?
Yeah, the Crocs that came with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, all right. Next up, this is going to be interesting to a lot of you guys. So you remember the insurrection, right? The violent insurrection that happened on the United States soil where thousands of lives were lost and the country was changed forever, right?
Yeah, all last summer with the riots and everything.
No, January 6th.
With that?
Yeah.
No, that was nothing really. Listen,
trust the experts. They said it's an insurrection.
Techno Viking. That's all that was, really.
The Viking was there, and he was scary. So the feds really leaned on obstruction, right? This obstruction charge, which it was never a good idea. But they wanted to back him with felonies because that's all the feds know how to do.
Yeah.
So that's the one they went with. Well, this report now is saying that all of those charges are in serious jeopardy. So let's check it out.
Okay.
So yeah, this is from Legal Insurrection. Really interesting takes here. It's by Amir Benno, and he goes through the constitutional issues that arise from this situation. There's a lot of it here. I recommend you guys check it out. But something to remember is they're suggesting that these people obstructed a legislative event, right?
Oh.
Which stopped. It was called off and stopped before anyone entered the building and then continued that night. So that creates a lot of problems, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're to solve those problems by interpreting the statute very broadly, well, then the statute becomes incredibly vague. And then there's a constitutional vagueness problem. So there's a huge issue here with these charges. And I think that's right, because like the way the obstruction charge is supposed to be is for people who like break in and steal the pen, right? That type of stuff. I think it's a little different than, I wasn't there. I wasn't going to go do that. I think this whole thing was a bit silly. But I don't think that when they wrote that law, they imagined a bunch of people, imitating the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, who just show up, get let in, and then wander around for a little while, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's a small scale recreation of the invasion, right?
Yeah. It was the weakest insurrection ever.
But yeah, so over 650 people have been charged with the incident. And again, hundreds of those people, the main charge is felony obstruction under 18 U.S.C. 1512 C2. The law provides whoever corruptly obstructs, influences, or impedes any official proceeding or attempts to do so shall be fined under this title or in prison not more than 20 years or both. So there's a scienter element right there. Whoever corruptly does so, generally, minimum intentionally. We don't even know if there's evidence that these people knew what proceeding was going on, right? At that exact time.
Yeah, and it was shut down 11 minutes before they even entered.
Exactly.
And so it further goes on to talk about the void for vagueness doctrine, which is just basically has to do with the Fifth Amendment. And the Supreme Court made clear that the guarantee is violated when the government, quote, takes away someone's life, liberty, or property under a criminal law so vague that it fails to give ordinary people fair notice of the conduct it punishes, or so standardless that it invites arbitrary enforcement, and that it would be without such guidelines, a criminal statute would perform a standardless sweep that would allow policemen, prosecutors, and juries to pursue their personal predilections, which clearly seems to be, for me, clearly seems to be the case.
And then there's another interesting thing here is there's a prior case on the in the DC circuit, US v. Poindexter, which he brings out here, where he points out that corruptly, because what the hell does that mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah, what does it mean?
That would be your scienter element. That would be your state of mind element. Your mens rea, to use a dead language. Well, what the hell does that mean? And so because of that, the DC Circuit found that neither the legislative history nor the prior judicial interpretation of the statute supplied the constitutionally required notice that the statute on its face lacked because of that word corruptly, and thus it was too vague. Now it's the same thing again. And in that case, right, nothing in that section would have given fair notice to any person of common intelligence that if he entered the United States Capitol for a short time without injuring anyone or damaging any property while associated with others seeking to petition the Congress, that his conduct would run afoul of this section and subject him to imprisonment for a term of 20 years. So
Yeah, so the vagueness of the word corruptly, which...
Yeah, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, right? Because, like, I don't think that what these people did had anything to do with corruptly, or it was not corruptly, by my opinion, and that...
Well, and remember that the clauses are together, right? You corruptly, which is X, accomplished Y.
Right.
And so where's the evidence that they intended to accomplish Y, too?
True, yeah. And this is that personal predilection that the Supreme Court mentioned in their judgment.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. So for, like many things, the standard is intentionally, whosoever intentionally. That means there has to be evidence that you knew what you were doing and you meant to do it, or that any reasonable person would know, right? But here it's a different word. It's corruptly. And like, what does that mean? To me, I'm imagining it means you go and wring your hands, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Techno Viking seems like he might have been the type, right? But I don't know about everyone else.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting. So then that all this together basically means that there's precedent for this. Is there, in fact, precedent for this very specific clause that they're trying to charge them under already?
Yes and no.
Okay.
There's at the minimum, very strong instructive precedent, but not necessarily... right. Yeah. So that's what I'd say. At the minimum, it's very strong instructive precedent.
Yeah. Because Poindexter he was convicted and then.
Right. And this is the appeal. Yeah.
And the DC Circuit agreed with him.
Yep.
Well, I think that's good, at least from my perspective, that I would really want these people not to be charged. Yeah. I don't see any of this as being a crime. In fact, this is the people's house.
I kind of think it's cool.
I do too, actually.
I mean, I think they did it a little silly. I wish they had done it for like any other reason in the world. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that we should if you take a Jeffersonian view of the United States, and he might have been on an extreme side, right? Which was that it should be violently dismantled every couple of years.
Yeah.
It seems like there should at least be a very real fear that such could happen. And I think that a way to accomplish that's very peaceful and but still sends a strong message, if it was just accepted that at any time we could go into any of their chambers and use their toilets and like not clean them.
Yeah.
Or flush
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what we should do, because they'll remember.
The problem is that's not punishing the people. That's punishing the people who clean those toilets, which is guaranteed.
Except though they're not allowed to have those. They're not allowed janitors anymore.
Sold.
All right.
Sold.
Yeah. Only the congressman will take care of this toilet, and it's the only one he's allowed to use.
Yeah, and honestly, that's how it should be anyway, and I bet we have a lot less people running for office.
And that's also good.
Because they went to Ivy Leagues and they're above that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Next up, more nonsense. And we hear about this all the time. Oh, and guys, I'm also going to say there was a lot of stuff covering the UN arms treaty thing this week. I just didn't want to talk about it. It's so... just completely ridiculous, and I don't think there's a real way to actually have it make a difference to us here, like at home. I mean, yeah, it can mess up. It can cause problems, especially for the import-export side of things, but we just had enough to cover, so I just wanted to touch on that, because I know people might be asking where that is, because some people are thinking that it means that the UN is going to send in people, right, with blue helmets and very well-used G3s to, like, stand around, but I don't think it means that.
Fair.
And I don't think they would try that.
And I don't have any expertise on this at all, so I don't even have a real opinion on it.
Right. So the other thing, we always hear about the government wanting to study gun violence, right? And we know what they mean by that. Yeah. Well, this collection of words give me all the red flags in the world. Red flags. This Disclosed TV came out with new CDC implements study on gun violence after labeling it a public health threat. and they are aiming to craft swift interventions as they have done to contain the coronavirus pandemic and other national health emergencies.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to fix the gun problem the same way they fixed the moped.
Okay.
Are you excited?
Yeah, because that just basically means they're going to make shit up and
lock us in cages.
Yeah. So perfect. Well done, CDC.
Is that not the most Orwellian thing ever?
Yeah, that's freaking crazy.
This public health threat, we are going to swiftly intervene the same way we did before in the with COVID.
Yeah, first of all, do they even have? So they're going to study it, and then they're going to provide that to the DOJ so that they can then act on this research, or?
Well, they're gonna say, here's our science thing. Here's how we have proposed through science that you solve it, and so then it'll be handed over to the legislator, and it'll be like, we recommend you craft laws to accomplish these objectives. That's how they go. They come out with an investigation and a report.
Yeah.
Right. Where they'll be like, these are 10 things that could help this. Step 1, boil gun owners in hot tar. Step 2,
yeah. And what are these swift interventions? Like maybe
it would be stuff like, I can tell you right now that it'll include at least limit the availability of ghost guns.
Yeah. Because that's a huge problem.
Right.
Kidding.
Yeah. Increase. Just wanted to make sure you said that. I knew you were kidding. Yeah, increase background check. Like that's what it's going to be. It's going to be all the normal stuff, right? And they're going to be like, this is probably there's a probable causal relations to these factors, and it's all going to be just like a bunch of double speak. But then, Pelosi or whoever will pilot that ship next will be waving that around saying, we have to act on this science. We have to,
Mm-hmm.
The experts have told us what to do, and we're not doing it.
Yeah, except they're all wrong because they're
also not experts. They're just high functioning alcoholic 25-year-olds because that's all that exists in DC.
Yeah. I think that they basically, if you're a known gang member and you use a firearm to commit a crime, instant death penalty. So, yeah, it's Judge Dredd style. That's how we clean up violence perpetrated by guns or with guns.
I would rather step 1 end the drug war, and then all of the gangs have to just go, well, what do we do now? And they kick cans and stuff.
No.
And then they'd have to go back to more actual dangerous stuff, and then we could implement your thing.
Yeah, or we could just do my thing first and kind of eliminate all the stuff.
The gangs only really exist because the U.S. government subsidizes their industry by making sure that they are the only market participants.
So do we just and I'm actually for this, so I'm not saying this as a critique. Do we just legalize all Schedule I narcotics immediately?
There's all drugs.
No penalties. Yeah, all drugs immediately legal. Again, I'm 100% for this.
Yeah.
This is what I'm interested in. And then they'll have to go to some other criminal enterprise like robberies and
no, what do they do? What do they do if it's you can buy cocaine now over the counter or and it's quality and healthy and as healthy as it can be, right? But there's no rat poison in it.
Yeah.
And it's Kraft is producing it, right? You buy it you buy a brick with a Kraft logo on it.
I want some Kraft crack.
Well, no one's going to buy crack. Why would anyone buy crack? Because that's people would only buy the good stuff that is, less bad for them because it doesn't have poison in it. What are the gangs doing? And the whole reason that they do stuff they're dealing in stuff like fentanyl is so that they can conceal their activities. What are they going to do when you can just get the safest version of everything and all of the product info is correct? You're never going to get a misdose by, whatever. What are they going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. They'll figure stuff out, but also I totally disagree.
They will do something, right? But the amount of power that they have and the size of them is going to just crumble. Imagine what would the mob have done if there was no prohibition in the early days?
Yeah, they would have, done loans and just the normal stuff.
Yeah, then whatever.
I guarantee you there's a bunch of hipsters out there that would want crack. They'll be like, no, it's the old school. It's the good stuff.
Yeah, we want that FBI stuff.
Yeah, we want that crack. We want that craft crack.
That's, oh my God, that is a world I would like to see, where we have to deal with like companies arguing about what real crack is.
Yes.
Like, no, this follows the original CIA. I don't know. Was it the CIA or the FBI that
I don't
allegedly
even know.
invented it?
Yeah. I
but like they're
know.
arguing over which is the real like original formula. That's a world I want.
I do too, actually.
Yeah.
That would be great. I want Nestle
Not
to...
because I want to use it, by the way, just because I think that you should treat people like adults, and if they want to drink poison, I don't think that you should try to kill everybody involved in getting them the poison that they're trying to pay for.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm 100% down with legalizing all drugs.
Yep.
And having Nestle make it and then like dump the stuff left over from making meth into rivers and stuff, and then that'll be the thing that we focus on as a society instead of what we are now.
I mean, you don't have to put it in the rivers, but
I mean, they're going to, right?
The fish would be really fast in the meth river.
Their lifespan would be 7 minutes.
Yeah. They come out. Zoop.
Yeah. A fish is born with 20,000 heartbeats. It depends on how fast it beats, how long they live.
Yeah.
I'm making that up. There's no science behind that.
Yeah, it's just there is. I believe it. All right. Well, next up, I'm sure y'all have heard this, we should be more like Australia. They took decisive action after the Port Arthur shooting, and they did all the stuff, and then they did more stuff when other shootings happened. And why can't we be like them? Why can't we take decisive action? Well, there's an interesting article now on, I've never really heard of these people, the National Pulse, and it's called "The Left Cheered When Australians Gave Up Their Guns. Now They're Being Shot by Their Own Government in the Streets." I mean, I don't know if I agree with that characterization, right? But let's just take a look at this. I was reading this and I was thinking, did that, really? That really happened? And then you look here, from last week, there's video of police shooting Australians in the back with rubber bullets, mind, for daring to go outside. This is here, I'll just play this real quick. It's hard to tell what's going on, but there's definitely gunshots and there's definitely droves of people running away. Oh yeah, so that doesn't seem like a good look to me. Shawn took a little break, but this is nuts. Okay, Shawn, you're back.
Thank God.
I just finished explaining what was going on in Australia, right?
Yeah.
And I played the video of all the people getting shot in the back with rubber bullets for having the audacity to go outside.
It's pretty crazy. Like the whole thing, you know how Australia started and how it ended, like how it started and how it's going now, that meme that everyone posts. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Guardian sided with the cops in Australia, and this guy this guy posted quite the different tone between the Guardian's headline when police dispersed rioters outside the White House and when thugs shot their fellow countrymen in the back for protesting lockdowns. Go figure. Let's look at these.
I can only imagine.
Okay, so yeah, this is the Guardian. Protesters brutally dispersed ahead of Trump's photo opportunity with a Bible. Wow.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And then Melbourne police break up anti-lockdown protests with non-lethal rounds and tear gas.
Wow. It's funny how that works. It's funny how opinions changed when, depending on who they're gassing or shooting with rubber bullets or shooting with real bullets. You know, if you agree with the politics, then you're like, that's terrible. If you disagree with the politics, then you're like, how could they do this?
Mm-hmm.
Australia is kind of a crazy place, and the lockdowns, the internment camps, I don't know if that stuff's real. I assume it is. But yeah, well done, Australia. You went from being,
did it again.
Yeah. You started it as prisoners and now you're going to prison camps. Congratulations. It just took a while.
It goes full circle.
Yeah.
Right. It took a while because their toilets go the other way.
Exactly.
You know, you got to go back.
Yeah. Yeah. They slowed down time. And now, I mean, we could have just put them in jail. Instead, we gave them their own country, who is now putting them in jail. So congrats.
Well, it wasn't we. It was the bongs, the Brit bongs.
Yeah. They deserve a
Don't you dare associate me with bongs.
Well, I mean, we're all basically, we come from British colonialists. Well, not all of us. My ancestors are from France.
Mine are from, well, the other half are Jamaican, which is a British colony, but
see,
prove they were bongs. It happened to be a British colony, but I don't think the blood is British. Fair.
Actually,
it probably was.
Yeah.
There was some in there.
Whatever. I wasn't going to call it.
It was a huge empire, whatever. I just don't want to be British.
Fair. Neither do I. And that's why I support the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. We really didn't want to be British anymore.
No.
Very badly.
And that is wonderful.
All right. Last story, guys, today. Space Force.
Yeah.
Get it out of here.
Yeah. Wait, what? Why?
That's what they say, the government people. Jared Huffman and Rashida Tlaib aim to abolish the military branch. I mean, I don't know. So the House Democrats introduced a measure in the 2020 defense budget to eliminate the Space Force, led by these people, co-signed by some other people, to abolish America's newest military branch. The measure received support from the National Taxpayers Union and radical anti-war groups such as Peace Action and Demand Progress.
Huh.
So what do you think about this?
I mean, I think that eventually we will need a police force in space just to deal with a lot of things. Of course, it'll become like everything else and corrupt. But like, I think that this is smart. This is where we are going as a society. We saw it with Bezos and I don't know, Musk and everybody who's going to space now. The guy from Virgin Atlantic, whose name I can't think of, Branson.
I don't think we need it.
We're going to space. Like, I think clearly there's going to be some things. Clearly there's going to be other countries that are going to want to create weapons in space. And I think having a plan for that is probably not a terrible idea.
Space cat.
Exactly. Space. Yeah. Astronaut goes to the moon, comes back 2 weeks early, gets off the thing. They say, why are you back so early? Says, ghosts, the moon's haunted. They say, what? Charges a pistol, gets back in and says the moon's haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite meme that I can't say.
You struggle with that one pretty desperately.
Yeah. I don't know. I've read it so many times. I've just never said it out loud. Next time will be better. I promise.
Moon's haunted.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I think this just comes to like anything that Donald Trump had that he did or had, they just hate it so much. Doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. And they're willing to decrease, the security of our nation because of their hate for Orange Cheeto Man.
Orange Cheeto Man is bad. The thing is, though, I think it's stupid. I don't want to pay for it. And I think that our federal government is ridiculously, preposterously huge. And so if we're not going to downsize some other things, I don't want more. And so
I do agree with that.
I don't hate it. I don't hate them getting rid of it. I hate that they're doing it just because they're literally, and there's no doubt in my mind, right? If this was done by anyone but Orange Cheeto Man, they'd be like, it would just be another thing that the Democrats tolerate because they are no longer a peace or have not. I don't even know if they've ever been a peace party. Because like, when have they ever actually done anything about ending a war?
Never.
Right. Like, they'll passively do things just like, but I'm anti-war. I'm anti a lot of stuff. Anti-Nickelback, but
I'm anti people named Nick.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing.
I hate them.
I'm anti-war, but I'm also like, I live in a world where war is the answer, right? Like, I mean, yeah, there's never going to be peace. There's always going to be
conquest is a legitimate form of acquisition.
Yeah, 100%. I was just oh my God, this is totally off topic. I was just watching this thing on YouTube talking about how many of the artifacts in the British History Museum are basically stolen and that they had gotten from their colonialist ways, like just taking over places and stealing their art and treasure. And there's like a Nigerian guy that wants that stuff back. And they're like, now the British History Museum is like, no, we got this like fair and square. And we are creating this encyclopedic catalog of the history of this great earth. And, that's clearly a thing. And these things exist and they will always exist. And that, it's easy to say no, colonialism is bad, but we wouldn't be here if it didn't exist. And I kind of love the United States and I love this country and like I love our life, and that's the life that I want, not the life that we may have had we never had Britain never branched out, and I'd be sitting here with bad teeth and a dumb accent.
This is it's an interesting. I saw a joke about this a while ago. Never ask a woman her age, a man his salary, and the British Museum where they got all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm kind of like, look, they beat your ass and they took it. And that's
they were over there because they broke in and they said, ooh,
yeah,
mine.
I don't know what you want to say. Like, that's just the way it is. Sorry.
This is pretty. It's mine now.
Yeah. Now, I don't know. I guess I'd probably sound like a pretty terrible person if I said had it stayed there, that it probably would have been destroyed or looted by warlords or whatever. Like, Nigeria is not a bastion of civilization.
Yeah, there's no moral answer to this, right? Because if you take the moral approach, well, then there was a private property owner and it was wrongfully taken from them. Like, that's the truth.
Yeah,
right?
Totally
but
was.
Is there a way to fix it now is the issue?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And if someone stole something, 100+ years ago,
right?
Like, it's pretty much theirs.
There's like all kinds of stuff happens, especially with things like art. The Germans saved a lot of it. They were generally not the good guys, but they were like, this town's going to get blown up. We should put these on a train.
Right.
Yeah. And frankly, I'm glad they did that. Other countries would have probably gone, whatever, F it, especially Russia or the USSR at the time.
I do agree. So, yeah, I mean, It's kind of a thing. Like, I'm glad
that the stuff still exists is all I would say on that.
Yeah, me too. And to like take this back to what I was talking about when I started all this, like, war exists and there will always be people who want to take away what we have in this country. I think maybe that's naive of me or jingoistic, but I think that people want what we have or they hate what we have. Either way, they want to attack us for having those things. And honestly, I'm okay having military superiority on ground, in the sky, and in space as well. Like, I think it's dumb to a point, but at the same time, people want to kill us and I want to kill them back better.
You want to kill them with space lasers.
Yes. That's just me. That's just my thoughts. Like,
that makes sense. And look, that's a rational position to have. I just take the more aggressive, to tell all of the people who sent mean comments about me, and I take the more aggressive hipster libertarian position.
Yeah.
And just say, I want smaller military. But
I do, right? Like, I want less of our tax dollars spent on that.
It makes sense. Whereas I'm like, smaller mill at all costs.
So
like,
I
don't care. Lower tax now.
And I 100% agree with that. Like, I think that, I mean, how many millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars did we just leave in Afghanistan to be picked up by whoever was there to pick it up?
Yeah, like, I wanted that stuff.
That money could have, you sell that to, United States citizens, you raise a lot of money there. So then we pay double, right? They use our tax money to buy it and then we buy it back. And then, so we're getting screwed double. But I would rather have military spending curtailed by responsibility, not by defunding.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
I also live in the world where I know that'll never happen, and it's stupid.
Yeah, well, it's hard to think about. There's no obvious answer.
Yeah, you know what?
Probably not. What?
You know what's really obvious though? Lady Liberty with nods.
Oh yeah, look, we both did it.
Yeah. I've been doing it. It's like the most genius thing that I ever even look at how beautiful that is right there. Just our advertiser right there in everyone's face.
Yep. So this whole time we've been advertising our friends, Patriot Patch Company.
Patriot Patch Company.
Patch drop.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so actually sold out. Yeah. Oh man. Click on their little Instagram thing down at the bottom. Yeah. So.
Oh, look, that's us.
Yeah. So weird. They're retro drops. Look at these. Anything tagged retro. So that's obviously going to be Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Or not obviously. Just enough to not.
Oh, they like kept de-blurring it.
Yeah.
Oh, and what's this one going to be, Med Mix?
I don't remember what that one was, but they are, I don't know, man. I'm a patch whore. I totally fully admit it.
Hey, look at this patch.
It's so weird. It's almost as if that's the one we have on our microphones.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But
So this patch came and it did freak me out. The detail was just too much.
Yeah. Like what's on his teeth?
And that, like, because and that's the nice thing is that the detail is really good on them. So each one of these little bingles was like a separate raised thing.
Yeah, like warts, like the patch had warts.
I couldn't tolerate it. I actually gave it to my girlfriend and she was thoroughly entertained by it.
Nice.
But it was that good. But yeah, there's just so many cool things. And if you join the month patch club, you can have one.
And if you don't want to commit to that, you could just go buy like the rib cage with the heart in it.
That's right. There's that.
There's all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
They got the Lady Liberty. They got multiple Lady Liberties actually.
But if you want those and you don't want to pay full price, what do you do?
Oh, you use the secret code.
Oh, is there a secret?
All right, don't tell them I told you this.
Yeah, they'll be real mad.
They're get so mad, but there's a code just for us, and it's TWIG 10, TWIG 10. And that should give you 10%.
That's what I've always wanted. 10%.
For every cent, 10.
Is that how it works?
Well, cent being 100.
Okay. I was like, I think that they have to pay us to take their patches. They might be mad if we advertise that.
Yeah. Yeah. %. That's how that word works.
Oh man. All right, cool. Go check them out. PatriotPatch.co.
Right. Yeah, guys. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. And thanks for being our friends.
Yeah. Thanks for being our friends in this time of need.
They're going to be so mad.